Welcome to Widowcast Podcast, where you'll find the strength to get through your journey and the skills to coach other widows to do the same. This is not a grief group. This is your journey, and it just may show you the way to make something amazing come out of the emotional pain and trauma of your loss. I'm your host, Joanne Filomena. I'm the best-selling author of the book Widowed and of The Widow Coach. I'm also a professionally certified life coach. Let the healing and the personal journey back to who you are begin. Welcome back, my friends. This is episode 91, and I've got something really special for you all today. I so wanted to be able to share with you a little of the backstory about some of the widows who have come to Widow Coach certification class and became certified widow coaches. So the first one I want to share with you is Robyn McCoy, because she's really created something special. And I would love for you to hear a little bit of her story, what she got from doing the Widow Coaches class, because I know so many of you are curious about what it is to become a certified widow coach. And, well, gosh, there's just nothing more I need to say, except here's the interview with Robyn McCoy. We did this live on Facebook. It was actually video, which is really fun. Maybe I can get the video put up on YouTube so you can all catch it and see us both. But in the meantime, here's the audio of that interview. You'll find the sound quality a little different from this because it was being done on a video feed, but we captured the sound just for this special episode of Widowcast. So enjoy.
Yay.
So welcome, everybody, and welcome, Robyn.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
This afternoon, I'm talking to Robyn McCoy, certified widow coach, who came through my course. It was such a pleasure to have her there. And she's been doing some amazing things as a certified widow coach. So I wanted to get together with you and give you a chance to talk about that and share that. But first, let's go ahead and start with just kind of a little bit of background on you, Robyn, when you became a widow,
Okay.
how that happened, how long have you been widowed?
Okay, I can do that. So my initiation into the sorority of widows happened unexpectedly and suddenly on a beautiful July day in 2015. My husband had had an overnight stay in the hospital. He was going to be released that day, and we were waiting for the doctor to return to sign his release. And as we were chatting, he had a pulmonary embolism. He was holding my hand, and he passed away while he was holding my hand. The doctors came and they worked on him for about 45 minutes. And I'll never forget this doctor. He was very kind. He said, "I've heard you praying, I've heard you crying, and my experience and my education tell me that even if your husband were to return, he would not be the same man you talked to this morning."
Yeah.
And so I regret to tell you that we're going to call your husband as having been deceased. And he hugged me. And I thought it strange. I'd never had a doctor do that. I'd been a witness to other doctors who had to deliver a similar message.
Yeah.
But that day, life turned on a dime for me. And I've not been the same since. So that was 2015.
2015. So it's been about 3 years?
It'll be 3 years the end of this month.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it's been a very unusual journey. The first few weeks I don't recall very much. I have a tribe of very wonderful friends and family who surrounded me because it was so sudden, because it was so unexpected. I didn't quite know what to do first. And so I had people who loved me to come and stand with me and to help me walk through those first months of difficult decisions. And so I am truly grateful to all of them for their love and their support. But there are parts of the journey that only you can walk. And so I had to learn how to walk through some of that all on my own. All on my own.
You have to get there. You have to
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
At first, initially, like you're just not even aware.
Yeah.
You know, at least I wasn't. The first few weeks, that was like I was on a different planet or something, just in that state of shock.
And widow fog, that's what I didn't realize that it was a term, but I think that God is very gracious to the widow in that, in my case, he was extremely gracious. He allowed me to have this kind of time where my brain didn't function well. And that was probably a good thing. It probably protected me and saved me from any number of horrific kinds of thinking and thoughts and that kind of thing.
Right.
And so I'm grateful in part for that time and that being, you know, completely oblivious and unaware. I remember people buying clothes for me to wear into the services, and I look back at the pictures and I'm not there. I'm present in the picture, but there's nothing behind the eyes. And so that went on for a good little while. It did.
Oh, yeah.
It really did.
And, you know, it's funny. I always hear people talking about funerals and talking about, you know, the widow. She held it together so well and shook hands with everybody. And they don't realize that
she's not there.
She's like mentally checked out. She's just going through the motions. In that state of shock that kind of protects us. So
it takes a while for that.
Right.
It does take a while.
So, but then you got to a space where you were able to decide that you wanted to do something more.
Yeah.
And you reached out to me about the Widow Coach's certification.
I did. And it was interesting today. I read this quote and I thought about our initial conversation. That was probably November 2017, maybe. That was our initial conversation. But this quote kind of struck me. It said, one new perception, one fresh thought, one act of surrender, one change of heart, one leap of faith can change your life. That's by Robert Holden. And that leap of faith, that, oh, what's a widow coach? I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Combined with God's assurance that he would give me purpose for my pain, that set me on a pathway. And, you know, life changes again on a dime. I relocated. I thought I was going to be in a place for a good little while. And then again, life happens. But what I learned, and what I discovered as a widow coach, is that it's my thinking. The facts of the situation are exactly what they are. It's what I tell myself about those facts. In that quote that you gave her, it said one fresh thought. That's what I always say. Like you're just one thought away from something new. And that the widow coaching was something new. I'm a certified coach. Had just gotten my certification when my husband passed away. So I understood what coaching was, but it was the thinking portion. It was how I was thinking, even about my circumstances, that was holding me hostage in some ways. And the widow coaching program and process unearthed a lot of thoughts that I was having about circumstances and situations that helped me to make some changes. I knew that I wanted to work with and for individuals who were like me, who had been widowed, who'd lost their spouses. That work was starting to come together, but I couldn't get the kind of traction that I wanted. And it was about my thinking. And then I discovered it was like an aha moment. You cut the light on and all of a sudden everything gets clear.
And clicks into place when you really get it. And for those listening, if you haven't listened to my podcasts or read my books, that's a lot of the style of coaching that I teach and train the certified widow coaches in, is that thought model, that coaching model, knowing that our thoughts always create our feelings. They don't like jump in our body from outside of us. Right? And once you learn that thought model, it really does kind of change how you look at life.
Yeah. And it's been life informing. A dear friend of mine, her name is Diane Arrington. She and I are the founders of Widowed Expressions. We speak. Because one of the things that happens to widows and widowers is our voices get quieter and quieter. There's no one to talk to. There's no one that asks our opinion anymore. The friends that we had when we were married, they start to call less and less, and we have less social contact. And then we become part of what I call the invisibles. We're no longer visible in the circles that we used to travel with our spouse. And so Diane and I have Widowed Expressions is our way of reaching out and giving the widowed a voice. We still have wisdom. There is love. There is life. There is hope in us. And being able to share that, that's what we do. We want to hold sacred that space to share with other widows and widowers that there is life after the loss of the spouse, and there is hope.
That is so perfect. I think you had said to me before when we talked about this, is you said for you, it was a matter of being able to try to find the language for what you were going through.
Absolutely. The words are important, but if you're no longer asked to speak, if you're no longer given a voice, if your voice has been hushed because people cease to remember you, they cease to see you as a person because you're no longer attached to your spouse, if they no longer invite you, being able to have language, the words to simply articulate to those well-meaning individuals, this is what I need. This is why I need it. This is why it's important. These are some things you probably shouldn't say. These are some things that would make life so much easier if you just did. And so the communication piece is crucial for widows and widowers to learn. There's nothing about us that's deformed. We lost our spouse. We're still human beings. We still laugh, we still cry, we still breathe, and helping people to come to grips with that, both us and those who love us, can sometimes be a challenge, and finding the words. That was the other thing that the widow coaching did for me, is it helped me give language and expression to what I was feeling. I learned I was not alone. There were other people like me who were walking through the journey. That's the first thing you think. This does not happen to anyone else on the planet. But it did. And having others who have been brave enough and courageous enough to go on and to live and to thrive, not just survive the loss of the spouse.
Right. And I love that you've taken what you've learned in the widow coaching class, the certification, and you've taken it into that arena of working with widows so that they begin to write their story and to be able to tell their story and own their story, right? To look back at the story they're telling themselves and then decide how they want to hear that story, how they want to craft it.
And it's important. So that's one of the things that I love about the work that we do at We Speak. So there are opportunities for connection in these mini mall walks.
Mall walks. Mall walks. That's usually mall walks. I can say it locally there. I know it's a tongue twister, right?
And so it's fun. It's a place for people to connect. It's a place for people to build community and to look and to meet others who are like us, who understand, who won't ask the question out of good intention, but who don't ask the question that's the worst question you could ask a widow. That's the worst thing you could say.
Right.
And so we have these walks. We've done walks in Virginia, South Carolina, Tampa, and it's a time for us to get together to have some fun, get some exercise, get out for a little while, and then we have breakfast together and continue the dialogue and the conversation. Then we do these what we call impact groups. These are small retreats or group sessions where we focus on helping the group to build a bond and a community within that small group that promotes healing and people being heard and feeling like they've been affirmed and they've been given, a second opportunity to tell their story. And then we have something called live storytelling productions where the widowed share their stories of life and love and hope. and what they want the world and the community to know about who they are and who they've been and who they're becoming. And so we also do seminars and workshops and conferences. And so there are a variety of different ways that we try to reach and help promote healing and hope and love.
That's so excellent. That's so excellent. You've talked to me before about this really beautiful thing about breaking china and then putting it back together in a mosaic, which is really a beautiful metaphor for being able to smash up that story that you have about your grief and your loss and recreating it into something that's really strong and supportive.
Yeah, it's called Plates and Promises, and it's an unusual experience in that we take these beautiful plates and we smash them with mallets into small pieces, symbolic of what's happened to us in our lives, in many cases at the loss of a spouse. And then we pour those pieces onto a table and we ask the participants to recreate something beautiful that's reflective of who they are now. And the things that they've created are simply amazing. From these broken pieces emerges these things of beauty that can be displayed and shared and that have personal, intimate, unique expression of each of the participants. It's an incredible, incredible gift. And it's something that we do as part of our retreats.
I love that. Robyn, it makes me want to run out to my kitchen and start smashing up.
No, you can't.
Like, let me try this. Maybe a little trip to the Salvation Army for a few
That's exactly what we did. But it's amazing. And people who've never thought that they had any creative ounce in their body find that they create the most beautiful expressions.
Yeah.
Simply using the broken pieces.
That's the coolest thing. And that's what you're feeling like you've done with your own life now.
Yeah, it is.
From the moment that there was a doctor hugging you.
Yes.
Right? Yes. To now, where you are one of my strongest, most amazing coaches. I mean, I just stand in awe. Of course, I'm like a mom with their kids. You know, the mom that goes to each kid and says, you're my favorite kid.
My favorite.
But don't tell the others. And then goes to the next child and says, you know you're my favorite, but don't tell the others.
But you gotta know, it's been a gift. It really has, to be able to reconcile and to break through, literally to break through some of my own thinking that had me stuck for so long. I mean, old childhood things that got finally dealt with and healed because I changed one fresh thought. That was what was powerful.
Right.
It was the thought, the thinking about that thing that set me on a new path and is helping me to create a new life for myself.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's incredible. Because, you know, I love teaching that, and I love talking about how we have 60,000 thoughts a day. Now, we're not aware of all 60,000 thoughts because we'd lose our mind. You know, to reach and pick up a glass, your brain is like processing all these thoughts through the muscles. So, and you don't want to be aware of that. It's just down in the automated thought processes. But the truth is, for the most part, every thought you think today will be thoughts that you thought yesterday, which will be the thoughts that you thought the day before. It's like you're just thinking the same thoughts all the time.
Over and over again.
And every single thing in our world, on our planet, was created because somebody had a new thought. Somebody had a new thought. Every invention, right back to the wheel, like somebody had a new thought and they were able to do that. Right?
So I liken it to the Bible verse that says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. My mind needed a fresh download of thinking. Yes, my husband he was my beloved. He was my forever and always. But God had different plans. And I needed to look for and find ways to move forward. Sometimes I could hear him going, honey, get up. Just get up. What are you doing? And even beginning to think again about, the kinds of things that I could do to help people remember his legacy. Different kinds of thoughts come to me now because I'm not in that same stuck place.
Right.
It's amazing. And it inspires other kinds of thinking. It really, and
I just want to say to anyone listening to this or watching this now or later on, because we're recording it, we're going to put this all over the place. If you've been stuck a long, long time, if you feel like you're just stuck in this by rote life, or you're stuck just sitting in your living room day after day because, you're in such emotional pain, it's never too late. It's never, I have so many widows that write and say, I don't think I'm ready to coach anyone because I have to deal with my own stuff first. Yeah. But the truth is, you deal with your own stuff while you're learning to coach. It's how you can deal with your own stuff. Yeah. I just want to reach out and say, what, if you knew how to deal with this, you would have already dealt with it. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's not like it's something that we deal with and put away. Because no, our husbands are like still with us all the time. Our grief is, just a part of our life. One of the widow coaches posted, oh gosh, I wish I had written it down so I could remember verbatim. But she said, there was a memory that came to me of him and it just made me smile. Yeah. That's where you want to be in your grief. You want to be able to maybe catch a memory or have somebody even tell you something that you didn't know. That was my favorite thing after Jim passed away. If somebody sent me a card, says, you may not know this, but when we first moved in, he stopped by the house and he said this thing to me and it just changed how I looked at everything. Yeah. And I would just be like, oh, because it was like a new story that I just didn't even know about him. But now those things make me smile. They don't hurt anymore.
And Steve was one of those people that was bigger than life and was beloved of everyone loved him. And so I've had the opportunity for people to share those stories. And because of the kind of work that I've been able to do in my own soul, using the tools that I learned in the program, I can say to people, it's okay. I'd love to hear what your stories are about Steve. It makes me know how much he not only impacted my life, but how much he impacted the lives of others. And that's a blessing to me.
Yeah.
And it literally frees them to be able to share a wonderful memory of my husband. And it now makes me smile.
Right.
It hasn't always. There were days when
where we want to reach to.
Yeah. They didn't want you to cry. It's like, but I probably should be crying now, but let's help one another through this process. And so I've been able to find the courage to do that.
And you do it through a storytelling process now, which I love. So for our listeners or watchers here, is there one little piece of that you could share with them, a little bit of something that they could take away and start doing on their own? In that vein?
So one of the best tools that I received from the widow coaching was to do a thought download. What am I saying to myself about these circumstances? And is it true? Just ask the question, is what I'm saying to myself, it's what I'm thinking, is that true? And if it's true, does it have to remain that way? Do I have to remain that way? Or is it possible for me to change? And when it's possible, one change in your life can make all the difference forever. And that for me really did just kind of open my heart up, and it opened my mind up as well. It's like, oh, you've been saying the same thing about this thing for the last 30 years. Can you let that go?
Yeah. What would life be like if my brain didn't say this anymore to me?
Right. And
right? How would I live differently? Now, the thought download, a thought download is where you can sit down with a tablet and you just spend 1 minute, 2 minutes tops writing your thoughts as fast as you can without filtering them. And if you have trouble get started, you can start with something at the top. You could write, I feel really bad right now because, or I'm feeling sad right now because, and then just start writing everything that comes into your mind, even if your thoughts stray, and it's like, this no longer has anything to do with what I put at the top of the page, don't worry about it. You just let your thoughts flow out onto the paper for a couple pages. You can even then set it aside and not look at it immediately. You can wait until the next day to go back and look at it and really start to look at the sentences your brain plays for you.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, sometimes even asking, is this true?
Is this true?
You know, one of my widow coaches, love her, and she was on a rant in a post because, you know, you learn to coach, but hey, coaches still need coaches. We still have our days,
Yes,
right?
we do.
It's like, yeah, people think I'm a certified life coach, so I have it all together and down. It's like, oh no, you have no idea. One of the things she said in her post is, I never get anything done. And I just had to laugh because she's one of the most efficient people I've ever met. It's like she gets so much done. And I just, you know, and I just gave her back that one thought and said, is that true? And, you know, she put little crying, laughing faces all on it because she knew that wasn't true.
Right.
But it's like probably her brain says that to her all the time. I just never get anything done.
Yeah.
Which that makes you feel self-defeated, and then you grind to a stop, right? You don't get anything done, right? So doing that thought download, it's the beginning of seeing what your brain is telling you. Also lets you look at a bit of the story you have around something that you can rewrite. Sometimes
that was illuminating for me. And then having my fellow coaches coach me around that kind of stuff. It's like, you've been thinking this about yourself. Is that really what you want to be thinking? Is that really how you want to continue? And it brought back to memory the proverb that says, as a man thinks, so is he. As a woman thinks, as a widow thinks, so is she.
Yeah.
And we can change our lives by changing.
You want to look at that stuff because it's a neural pathway. Our brain is merely a computer. So it has thoughts it likes to just fire off because there's this little pathway in your brain that fires that thought. So it's an easy thought for your brain to just fire off at you. And when you start looking at it, you're like, my God, is that what I've been telling myself?
Yeah.
You know, let's have a new story.
Let's tell ourselves the truth in some cases.
Right.
We can change our lives by changing the way we think. We can.
Right. So that is so excellent. So Robyn, where would they find you on the internet? What is your website?
So the website is thewespeak.com. THEWESPAK.com. Check us out.
Thewespeak.com. Yeah, go check it out because Robyn's got all kinds of good things cooking.
Thank you.
We even talked about something we might both be able to go to next year.
I'm looking forward to that.
Presenters. Yeah, stay tuned, everybody, because, we'll be announcing that big. If we do that, I think it would be so fun to connect at a live event like that.
I think so, too.
Need to start doing so much more of that. And anyone who's listening, if you want to know more about the Widow Coaches class, go to widowcoaches.com. You put in your name, your email address. I'll get links to you. You can email me at joanne@joannethelifecoach.com.
Yeah.
Right. I get a lot of emails too. People just like bypass all of my fancy stuff and they send me an email and say, I really think I want to do your class. Awesome. Let's jump on a call and talk about it. Right.
Yeah.
So, and those who are seeing this on Facebook, if you haven't checked out Widowcast Podcast, go look for it on iTunes, Google Music Play, Stitcher. I'm even on Alexa, believe it or not. She's going to talk to me now because I said her name. No, we're good. So, this has been terrific. Thank you so much for jumping on here with me today, Robyn. I really wanted a chance for all the other widows on my pages and listen to my podcast to meet you, hear a little bit of what you're doing, and hear a little bit about beginning to look at the stories they tell themselves about everything. It doesn't even have to be about being widowed. Sometimes there's stories we tell ourselves about our childhood. There's stories we tell ourselves about our bosses, right? It literally, these tools apply to your entire life.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Joanne. I appreciate it more than I can tell you.
It's been fun. And thank you guys watching on Facebook. I saw you here. You know, I love you. So that was so much fun to do. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And listen, if you want to find out more about the Widow Coaches class to become a certified widow coach, you can just go to widowcoaches.com and enter your name and email address, and that'll get you on my list, and you'll find out how to apply and get in touch with me. Or if you're really anxious about it, just shoot me an email. I always respond. Okay. My email address is Joanne, Joann, at joannethelifecoach.com. Love to hear from you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Get out there, find some joy in your day, and take a little of Robyn's advice and story and start taking a look at your own story that you tell yourself about where you are right now in life. See if that's the story that you really want to keep. Talk to you later.